He's three law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
Chaotic. It's hard to actually figure out what's what, but it's becoming clearer. It's becoming clearer and clearer. But
we have to start with a scene as bold and wild as hip-hop's most infamous mysteries. Charleston White, never one to bite his tongue, tossing a grenade into the already smoldering legacy of the 90s rap wars. He doesn't just float another rumor, he puts a face, a voice, and a motive behind the trigger. According to White, Diddy, yes, Mr. Bad Boy himself, allegedly threatened to end Shakur's life if Shakur so much as stepped in his path. Not just playground talk, not just industry beef. A full-throated, cold warning from the king of the East Coast machine to the West rebel poet. White claims the threat was so open, so brash, it turned the East Coast-West rivalry from lyrical competition into blood sport. Here's the chilling setup. Two titans locked in a game so personal, the world would remember it for generations. But only now, nearly 3 decades later, do we hear that a living legend like Diddy might have been steering the storm from behind the velvet rope.
Tupac played himself, homie. We saw him go from East Coast to West Coast. We saw him go from backup dancer to, you think y'all the mob? We the mob.
We can't overstate the emotion behind Shakur's unsolved end, a talent extinguished at 25, in the very prime of his poetic fury, riding shotgun in a BMW under Vegas neon, just after trading barbs and bruises with death row's biggest rivals. It's always been bigger than just another shooting on the strip. We're talking about the day the music stopped and the conspiracy started, with every clue adding another shadow on the wall. Now, with White's accusations, the air gets even thicker. We find ourselves wondering, could this new twist rewrite everything we thought we knew about that September night?
I always said, Keisha, I'm not gonna live, past a certain time, or, I know I'm gonna get shot up. He knew that. That was, the one thing that he did know.
But let's turn up the heat. Charleston White doesn't stop at finger-pointing. He pulls back the curtain on what he calls the real power behind Diddy's throne. Not money, not record sales, not even street clout, but the FBI. White claims the feds had the receipts on Diddy in the Shakur case all along. Not only that, but they kept their cards hidden, trading evidence for leverage, using Diddy not as a suspect but as a willing informant. This isn't your average celebrity cover-up theory. White paints a picture of the FBI as puppet masters, orchestrating chaos in the rap world, making Diddy their inside man, their secret weapon to control not just him, but the whole bad boy empire. Why would the FBI bury evidence in the nation's most talked about unsolved hit? Simple, White insists, because as long as Diddy was in their pocket, they could steer the industry from the shadows. The biggest rap mogul of his generation, the man who seemed untouchable, is suddenly recast as the FBI's own marionette. White alleges Diddy was allowed to rise, to dominate, to survive scandals that buried lesser men, all because he was doing Uncle Sam's bidding. Every time the headlines screamed about Diddy's new legal battle or tabloid scandal, the real story, White says, was who held his leash behind the scenes.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70, that's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
Now the stakes get even sharper. If Diddy was so crucial to the Fed's schemes, could he ever truly be brought down? Charleston White, never one to underplay a threat, throws gasoline on the fire. Even now, with Diddy behind bars, even with headlines trumpeting his human trafficking and racketeering trial, White claims the system could still let him walk. The FBI, having milked his connections for years, might just snap their fingers and erase the consequences. And if that happens, if the king escapes once again, what does that say about the justice we've all been promised?
Was the incentive just revenge, or was the incentive for that supposed money that Puffy supposedly put up?
We're not talking about barbershop gossip here. Real names and receipts have started to bubble up. Take Mopreme Shakur, Shakur's own brother, who has publicly cast doubt on Diddy's innocence. Mopreme describes with visible exhaustion how the unsolved case has stalked his family for nearly 3 decades. He says Diddy called him personally years after Shakur's passing to deny any involvement, but even then, Mopreme wasn't buying it. He says the truth is still yet to come out, and that with every new development, the old denials look weaker and weaker. As Mopreme told Piers Morgan, my opinion is that I don't believe it was a 100% honest statement. A bit diplomatic, sure, but as he puts it, it's time for it to be investigated again. If this sounds like the plot of a Netflix docu-thriller, it's because for years the authorities themselves couldn't or wouldn't bring closure. Just last year, Dwayne Keith Davis, better known as Keith D, was arrested and charged for his part in the hit. But here's the rub. Keith D has named Diddy repeatedly as a would-be conspirator, claiming Diddy offered millions for both Shakur and Suge Knight. This isn't a lone wolf accusation. It's echoed in secret cop recordings, detailed in court filings, and now back in the headlines thanks to those who believe the whole story is finally coming into focus.
PD named Diddy 77 times in court documents related to Tupac's.
And yet, somehow Diddy remains a step ahead. He's never been charged in connection with Shakur's end, never officially listed as a suspect. Las Vegas police and LA detectives have pointed fingers at everyone from Suge Knight to random gang affiliates, but every time the trail loops back to Diddy, the wires go mysteriously silent. So when Charleston White claims the FBI had their claws sunk into Bad Boy's boss all along, it doesn't sound as outlandish as it used to, especially when we remember that for years, Diddy seemed to glide above every scandal, always surviving what should have been career-ending revelations. We have to ask, could this really be the reason the truth stayed buried? Was Diddy's rise to power, his Teflon status, and his uncanny ability to dodge ruin all engineered by government handlers looking to control the chaos they themselves had helped create? White's claim that the FBI has kept Diddy on a leash for decades would explain why every attempt to prosecute, to tie him to Shakur's case, fizzled out at the 11th hour. Even now, with federal prosecutors gunning for him on new charges, racketeering, trafficking, conspiracy, the sense persists that something or someone keeps him shielded from the full consequences.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
And the web of rumors only gets knottier when we add in what Mo Preem and Shakur's family are doing now. With Diddy's latest legal messes all over the news, the Shakur family has brought in celebrity attorney Alex Spiro, the same legal eagle who got Alec Baldwin off the hook and currently defends New York's embattled mayor. Spiro's new assignment? Dig deeper into Diddy's possible ties to Shakur's demise, to find links that investigators and prosecutors missed or ignored. In other words, to finally answer whether Diddy was a player in the ultimate betrayal, and if so, why the authorities seemed so determined to let him skate.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their...
But the waters are as murky as ever. For every bold claim, there's a tangle of conflicting evidence and slippery denials. Keith D says Diddy wanted Shakur and Suge gone, promising a bounty so big we was like, damn, we can get paid now. Court documents show Diddy's name coming up 47 times in one secret interview, with details about cash, meetings, and motives that sound straight out of a Hollywood script. Diddy predictably calls it all ridiculous and pure fiction. But we have to ask, if he's so innocent, why has the case never been closed? Why do so many in the industry keep whispering his name, and why do so many key witnesses seem to vanish or clam up? The questions only mount. Could the FBI really have orchestrated the fall of death row, using Diddy as a pawn while keeping the real kingpins in the clear? Was the East Coast's surge in the late 90s more about backroom deals than radio hits and sold-out tours? And does Diddy's current predicament, sitting in a New York courtroom, facing allegations of trafficking, racketeering, and presiding over what prosecutors call a criminal empire of exploitation, have deeper roots than we ever imagined?
Sean had to take responsibility for what he did as an individual. Sean is the one who pulled that gun out. Sean is the one who shot. So he has to take responsibility for that.
It's not lost on anyone that just as the spotlight returns to Diddy's possible involvement in Shakur's tragedy, his own legal world is unraveling. Victims and prosecutors are lining up, with testimony painting a picture of a mogul who wasn't just ruthless in business, but dangerous in every sense. Witnesses vanish, evidence piles up, and the legal noose tightens, but White insists that the same invisible hand that protected Diddy for years could still pull him out of the fire.
Where I'm going with this, Snoop, stop letting these people use you, man.
And in the middle of it all, the echo of that original night still haunts every new headline. Shakur, the rebel poet, gunned down after a Mike Tyson fight. A bloody end that changed the music world forever. The case still open. The grief, the rage, the unanswered questions, all swirling around a man who might have been both puppet and puppet master, both predator and prey. As we sift through court documents, jailhouse confessions, family suspicions, and government silence, it's impossible not to wonder how much of Diddy's legacy is built on secrets that the world was never meant to see. Could the entire trajectory of 90s hip-hop have been shaped not just by street loyalty and radio spins, but by a shadow war waged by the FBI, with Diddy playing both sides, keeping his rivals in check and his own empire afloat, all under federal protection? Mopreme Shakur, still careful with his words, admits he has doubts and won't say outright what he suspects. But as he told Piers Morgan, the truth has to come out eventually. We're gonna see, Mopreme says, with the heavy patience of a man who's been waiting a lifetime for answers.
But tell me, man, why do you believe that Jay and Puffy is close, even though Jay's lawyer came out and said they're not?
Because Jay-Z and Puff was given an assignment.
Every new rumor, every lost witness, every leaked court filing keeps the drama boiling. Even the details of Diddy's current trial feel like they belong in some grim HBO drama, with prosecutors hunting for missing witnesses, survivors signing eye-watering NDAs, and the specter of a life sentence looming over the once untouchable mogul. The tabloid headlines promise one bombshell after another, but the sense remains that the real secrets are still hiding in plain sight, locked away in FBI vaults, or whispered only in backroom deals. So now, as Diddy faces the fight of his life in federal court, as new investigators comb through decades of rumors and old enemies circle for a final reckoning, the biggest question may be the one we were never supposed to ask. Did Diddy really strike a bargain that reshaped the course of music and justice alike? Has the truth about Shakur's end been deliberately buried to protect the interests of those far more powerful than any single mogul? And if the answers ever do come out, will they finally close the book on hip-hop's most enduring mystery? Or will they just set the stage for a whole new round of revelations, cover-ups, and betrayals that could topple legends all over again?
See, where I'm going with this, Snoop, stop letting these people use you, man.
And while every spotlight has been on Diddy's collapse, we can't ignore the towering figure in the rearview mirror, Suge Knight, the man whose mere presence once made the industry tremble. Even locked down, Knight never really disappeared from the game. For years, whispers have swirled that Knight was quietly biding his time, plotting payback from behind prison walls. Old enemies never sleep, and if there's one thing we've learned from the death row playbook, it's that the thirst for vengeance never expires. Multiple insiders insist that Knight's recent cooperation with investigators, maybe out of spite, maybe out of survival, may have kicked loose the very evidence now threatening to blow Diddy's empire sky high. Was this all part of Knight's final move, a calculated checkmate to avenge not just Shakur, but the annihilation of everything he built? Some close to Knight claim he's always believed Diddy's fortune was built on betrayal, and that, eventually, all debts come due. Here's what makes this rivalry so much more than a celebrity grudge. We're talking about a world where power doesn't just change hands, it changes the rules. Suge Knight's reach has always stretched far beyond the studio, and now, with both Knight and Diddy fighting for their legacies from two different cells, we're forced to wonder how much of this chaos was personal and how much was pure business. Some detectives say Knight's decision to finally spill secrets wasn't just about settling scores, but making sure history remembers who was the real kingpin. Could it be that every revelation in the Diddy investigation is just another move in a war that started the night Shakur fell, and will only end when one man's legacy is dust?
And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother.
As we dig deeper, it's impossible to ignore the bigger battlefield that surrounded all these players. A hidden war raging through the 90s, where the stage lights of hip-hop only served to distract from the shadows. The FBI's alleged infiltration of the rap world wasn't just about crime and punishment, it was about control. Former insiders say the Bureau saw the growing power of hip-hop and moved to shape it to their own ends, flipping artists into informants, leveraging scandals, and shifting allegiances behind the scenes. Label bosses, hustlers, federal agents, and street legends, all colliding in a dizzying tug-of-war for who would shape the next era of Black culture and business. It raises the question that never gets old. Was Shakur's end the accidental result of a spiraling feud, or was it always part of a bigger plan to cripple the West Coast, dethrone death row, and rewrite the story of modern music? Some veteran reporters point to the strange patterns, the convenient timing of busts, the mysterious disappearance of key witnesses, the feds always lurking just out of frame. If even half the stories are true, then Shakur's end wasn't just a loss, but a turning point, engineered by powerful players far beyond the industry's glitziest offices.
But tell me, man, why do you believe that Jay and Puffy is close, even though Jay's lawyer came out and said they're not?
Because Jay-Z and Puff was given an assignment.
Every time a new court document leaks or an old gangster breaks his silence, it feels like we're getting closer to seeing the full design. A web of alliances, payoffs, cover-ups, and betrayals. And right at the center, according to Charleston White, sits Diddy, a man who might have danced between worlds, a hustler for the feds, a king among moguls, a survivor of every attempt to bring him down. The wildest theory, that the FBI didn't just use Diddy, but used his feud with Suge, his rivalry with Shakur, and his rise through the 90s as tools to pacify the streets and keep the real bosses, whoever they are, safe and unchallenged. Now the stakes are even higher. If White's allegations hold any weight, then Shakur's final ride was not just the climax of a feud, but the turning point in a larger war for the soul of hip-hop. We have Diddy's fate hanging in the balance, Suge Knight still calling shots from a concrete box, and a generation of fans and families left to piece together a puzzle no one ever wanted solved. As Diddy's trial lurches forward, some insiders quietly predict that what's already come out is just the tip of the iceberg. More evidence could surface, more witnesses might flip, and if even a sliver of White's story is true, the next bombshell might take down legends far beyond Bad Boy or Death Row.
I say a week before he was best of friends. 2 days before he I don't think he liked it.
But where does that leave us? With more questions than answers and more suspects than suspects cleared. Was this just about two men and their pride, or was it the ultimate freak to power move by unseen hands? Did Diddy ever truly run the show, or was he always a pawn in a game much older and more dangerous than anyone guessed? And is there any hope, after all these years, for real justice? Or will the hip-hop world keep spinning on a foundation of secrets, cover-ups, and heartbreak? Now, before you scroll away, we want to know, who do you think was really behind Shakur's end? And do you believe Diddy will ever face the full truth? Could the next court session bring the secrets that finally break this case wide open? Drop your hottest theories and deepest suspicions in the comments. Let's see who's brave enough to say what the industry won't. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and remember, in this world, legends never rest easy.